briefing that we had with John Brennan, who is the Deputy National Security Advisor for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism, and the announcement of 524 National Guard troops to the Arizona border. We had worked very hard to call the National Guard back to southern Arizona. They were deployed here in the past, but because of the problems we've seen along the U.S.-Mexico border, specifically in Arizona, we're very pleased that the President heeded our calls and will be deploying those troops. They're in training now, and they should be arriving in August. The delegation included Assistant Secretary John Morton in charge of ICE, Commissioner Alan Burson of the Department of Homeland Security. We also had Bruce Swartz of the Department of Justice, Brian Bishop of the Department of Defense, and John McShane of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Mr. Brennan and his delegation had a chance to provide us with some information about the emergency supplemental funding that will be coming to Arizona and the Southwest border region. But more importantly, they had an opportunity to hear from the folks on the front lines. The first briefing we had was with a whole series of the federal agencies that are most directly affected. We had the highest ranking officers in the United States Border Patrol, ICE, FBI, ATF, DEA, and the United States Marshals. Later, we had a briefing with our state and local officials, from the Sheriff's Department to local law enforcement. We also had county attorneys from Pima County, from Santa Cruz County, and from Cochise County. Very critical that they were here to listen, not just tell us about their solutions to securing the border, but to hear specifically from the Chief of Police in Patagonia, to hear as well from the Chief of Police in Sahuarita. Again, a lot of these small communities, even in Douglas, that are the most seriously impacted, they don't have a lot of resources, yet they're on the front lines of this immigration problem as well. We all know the problems we have in southern Arizona. The Tucson sector had over 240,000 apprehensions of illegal immigrants just last year, and over 1 million pounds of marijuana. The drug cartels are violent. We are oftentimes, we're outgunned, we're outmanned, and we're out-resourced. And so that is why it's so important that the administration is proposing the $600 million in supplemental funding, which will be $399 million that will go to the Department of Homeland Security to pay for 1,000 new Border Patrol agents, 160 new federal immigration officers, 2 unmanned aerial aircraft here to beef up security along the U.S.-Mexico border in southern Arizona. And the administration also requested $201 million from the Department of Justice to hire new ATF, DEA, and FBI, as well as new immigration judges and prosecutors. There's an additional $135 million that will be coming for the National Guard. We're looking forward to having those guardsmen and women here in southern Arizona, the area that is most heavily impacted with illegal immigration. I'm going to turn the floor over to Attorney General Terry Goddard. And please, Attorney General Goddard.
Well, I think what Congresswoman Giffords has had to say is very heartening news for those of us in Arizona who, as the security advisor John Brennan said, we're at the point of the spear. We're the area that is most impacted by drug smuggling and illegal immigration. And he was here, I think, very commendably to listen to the men and women on the front lines, the police chiefs, the sheriffs, the people that really see this problem, as Tony Estrada in Santa Cruz County said, for 40 years he's seen it every day. And he's never seen the challenge greater. He's never seen the amount of resources that are being used to commit crimes to be more sophisticated and more virulent. So bottom line, the President's advisor was here to listen to the folks and to get an idea exactly what's needed. And from that, he promises that he will put together a plan to focus on the real problem, not on some phantom, not on a response based on rhetoric or hyperbole or outright false statements, which unfortunately is often what we deal with when we're talking about border crime. He's here with the folks who know the facts, and I think that's a very important start. He also acknowledged that what Congresswoman Giffords has just announced and talked about is a start. He didn't say it was all the administration would do. He did say, however, that this would be part of the base effort. And that's important. It's not a one-time shot. It's basically going to be here year in and year out in terms of extra support, because this is not a one-year problem. This is not something that disappears in the fall. This is going to be something that we're going to have to deal with and deal with the aftermaths for a long time. Now, I had a very, hopefully, cogent and directed message to him, which was, I hope in his planning, and these are the right people to do the planning from the national security advisors, that they will focus on defining terms. A lot of people talk about securing the border. They say we can't do this or that or the other thing. Specifically, we can't have immigration reform until we secure the border. But nobody says what that means. Until they do, we'll never get there. And the bottom line, in my opinion, is securing the border means going after the organized criminals that threaten the United States, that threaten our security, and that bring drugs and human beings north and bring dollars and guns south. That is part of the business plan that we made the advisor aware of. I think he knew most of the background, but we tried to emphasize that it's a program, it's a business. And the people running this business are integrated and very flexible. They're incredibly technologically advanced. They're incredibly well funded. They're incredibly violent. We've seen the violence in Mexico, and our goal, of course, is to keep that violence out of the United States. But they're already here in terms of their organization. There are 300, almost 300 cities in the United States, throughout the United States, and it's time that we had the kind of coordinated plan that John Brennan was talking about putting together. Now, he didn't give us the details. We didn't go into those, and frankly, there were a few deficiencies at today's meeting. It seems to me until we have the money people, that's the Department of the Treasury, we're not going to have a comprehensive federal response. And they were, Internal Revenue was here, but the main folks who handle the international movement of currency were not. They promised that the next time they come and the next time they talk about this, we'll have all of the critical federal players. And they're ready to, and I think this is the last part I'd like to emphasize, our local government officials made it very clear that they're being stretched to the maximum. Barbara LaWall in Pima County has got over 20 prosecutor vacancies. We need the resources to hire those new people and to make sure we can handle what they call the back of the house. The large number of people that need to be processed through the criminal justice system because of additional arrests and because of additional crimes. And that's something that I know they heard loud and clear. We're going to be waiting for their response. In the meantime, the $50 million of alliance funding that I've been able to get in February through our settlement with Western Union is going to be very important to plug the gaps, because it's going to be available right now to state and local law enforcement to help them with security, with extra technology, even with hiring additional personnel to go after border crime. One of my specific requests was that either Director Burson or some of the other officials that were here find a way to at least double the $50 million so that state and local governments on the whole border are able to fight harder against border crime.